There's a question I used to ask myself at the end of every day, not out loud, just quietly, lying there before sleep. Why am I living this average life? Not why is life hard, not why haven't I made it yet. Specifically, why am I living average? Because I knew it wasn't about ability. I knew somewhere underneath everything that I had more in me than what I was actually doing with my days. And that gap between what I knew I had and what I was actually doing with it, that was the thing that was quietly eating me. Maybe you know that feeling. I'm not going to tell you to believe in yourself. I'm not going to show you a transformation montage. I'm not going to give you 5 steps because I have watched those videos. They felt good for a few hours. Then I woke up the next morning exactly the same. What I want to tell you is something smaller and more honest than that, about one specific thing I changed and what actually happened. For a long time, I was making every decision based on how I felt. Feel like working out? I'd go. Don't feel like it? I'd tell myself tomorrow. Feel inspired? I'd start the project. Don't feel inspired? I'd scroll until midnight convincing myself I was resting. I thought I was being kind to myself, listening to my body, not forcing things. What I was actually doing was letting my feeling run my life while my plan sat there waiting. Every night I'd look at the plan and feel genuinely confused about why nothing was changing. The plan was good, the intentions were real, but I kept choosing how I felt over what I would commit it to every single day. And the days kept repeating. And the thing nobody told me about leaving your comfort zone. I thought leaving your comfort zone meant doing something dramatic, quitting your job, moving cities, making the big leap. It doesn't. Leaving your comfort zone is waking up at 5 a.m. when your brain is half asleep and foggy, and your body feels like it's underwater, and getting up anyway. Not because you feel like it, you don't feel like it, because the plan says to. That's it. That's the whole thing. It's not dramatic, it's just doing the next thing on the plan while every feeling you have is telling you to wait. First morning, alarm at 5 am. I want to be honest about what that felt like. Not the version where I jumped out of bed feeling purpose. The real version. Brain completely foggy. Eyes not fully open. That specific feeling where you are half in sleep and half awake, and your whole body just wants to go back under. And the thought that came immediately before I would even fully waken up was not today. I got up anyway, not because I felt ready, not because something clicked, because I could see the pattern clearly in that moment. If I stayed in bed, today would repeat yesterday. Yesterday had already repeated the day before. I could see the whole chain of it stretched out in front of me, and I didn't want another day on that chain. So I got up foggy, half asleep, not inspired, just up. Let me ask you something honestly. How many times have you made a plan that you genuinely believed in, written it down, felt real about it, and then let how you felt the next morning decide whether it happened? Not once. How many times total? Because I counted mine once. It was more than I wanted to admit. And what I actually figure out, motivation doesn't came before the action, it comes after. I was waiting to feel ready to exercise before I exercised, waiting to feel focused before I worked, waiting to feel inspired before I created anything. And the waiting was the trap because those feelings, readiness, focus, inspiration, they don't show up on their own. They show up as a result of already doing the thing. So I stopped following my feelings and started following the plan. Every morning, not when I felt like it. The plan said 5 a.m. I got up at 5 a.m. The plan said exercise. I exercised with a foggy brain and half closed eyes. The plan said read. I turned off my phone and read even when my hands wanted to pick it back up. The feelings were irrelevant. The plan was the only thing that mattered. And I want to be honest about the first 2 or 3 days. They were genuinely difficult in a way I didn't expect. Not physically, mentally. Because doing the thing your feelings are telling you not to do feels like going against yourself. It feels wrong. Your brain reads it as a kind of violence against your own comfort. And a voice shows up, quiet but persistent, that says, "This isn't sustainable. You are forcing it. This isn't who you are." That voice is lying. But it's convincing in those first few days. What got me through it wasn't motivation, it wasn't a feeling, it was one thought. If I stop now, I go back to the pattern, and I had seen the pattern clearly enough that going back to it felt worse than the discomfort of continuing. Around the day 4, something shifted, not dramatically, quietly. The fogginess at 5 a.m. was still there, but it stopped feeling like a reason not to get up. It was just a condition. Whether something happens in the background while I did what I would plan to do, and something else happened that I wasn't expecting. That question I used to ask myself at the end of the day, why am I living this average life? It stopped coming, not because everything was fixed, not because I would achieve anything dramatic, just because I would spent the day following the plan instead of my feelings, and that by itself was enough to make the end of the day feel different. Like I was actually living my life instead of watching it pass from a comfortable distance. Like I was actually living my life instead of watching it pass from a comfortable distance. And what I think is actually happening when you stay in your comfort zone, it's not laziness, it's not weakness, it's just your feelings have been in charge for so long that they have started to feel like your identity. Like following them is being true to yourself and ignoring them is betraying yourself. But your feelings are not you. Your plan is closer to you than your feelings are. Your plan is what you decide when you were thinking clearly about who you want to be. Your feelings are just weather, they change every few hours. Your plan stays. The comfort zone isn't actually comfortable. It's just familiar, and familiar feels like safe, even when it's slowly making you ask that question every night before you sleep. That question, why am I living this average life? If you have ever asked yourself that, you already know what I am talking about. You know the feeling of having more in you than what you are doing with your days. You have known it for a while. The answer isn't a new plan. You probably already have the plan. The answer is deciding just once, just tomorrow morning, to follow the plan instead of how you feel when the alarm goes off. Not forever, just tomorrow. And then seeing what the end of tomorrow feels like compared to tonight. That's the whole thing. That's all leaving your comfort zone actually is. Not a leap, just getting up foggy at 5 a.m. and doing the next thing on the plan while every feeling you have tells you to wait.